Could you speak to your experience of why the body is so important to be including in this whole journey?
Oh my. Um, well, what I really believe from both my experience and my education is that our bodies hold everything. They are the Alexandria Library. They have noticed every experience, every thought, every feeling, every everything. And it's recorded somewhere in there. And so if I don't attend to the body, I'm missing an incredible opportunity to actually know someone at another whole level, and to let them, in a sense, know me as well. Because to let that intimate dance happen, to receive body work, um, a fundamental aspect of trust has to be met. And when the body has information that challenges that safety, then my attunement is actually crucial. And if I'm not paying attention, or if I'm not really there, then I'm going to miss something really important. And so are they. And so the body offers all of these opportunities to rework memory or experience or trauma.
Hmm. Yeah, it's um, it's like the way that I've experienced it with you, which has been unique. And obviously, you were the first person that I started seeing consistently for body work, even as an athlete. But you would touch places in me that I didn't even know. Like I would feel a pain, and then you would ask me a question, and it seemed like somehow it was related to the pain, and then this whole thing would unravel. And before I knew it, I was in like subconscious material that I had been operating through that I didn't we would have never gotten there if I sat down and you asked me some questions or I started talking to you, because I it was the body put linking things together through your attunement of touching me and then asking me questions. And I remember that blowing my mind, and I was thinking, what is this? How does that work? But it kept consistently happening.
Right. And that is something that actually people find pretty challenging when they first start working with me, because the body actually doesn't tell stories usually that aren't true. And so when I find something and it doesn't respond to, oh, the invitation to relax or to let go, then I know there's content. And when I actually ask about the content, I have no idea what is there. I really actually have to be very curious. It's like, well, what does it look like? What does it feel like? How big is it? What's it doing for you? It's trying to help. So, but people are like, are you out of your mind?
I remember feeling that way, like, what's going on, Zabudu?
Yeah, yeah. And actually just like, how's my body supposed to tell me that?
Right.
And it's like, well, actually, if you just listen, I'm going to put my fingers there so you can feel what it feels like. You tell me what it feels like. I think it feels like a marble. Is it a marble to you? And it's like, well, no, actually, for me, it's a rock. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
now you know you have a rock. What? Yeah. What's that rock doing there? And
And then it
yeah,
sort of continues often to meaning, like to
uh,
story, to,
oftentimes,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. If we ask that rock what it wants or what it needs or why it's there, what might it say to you? And they look at me like, are you cracked?
Exactly.
And I'm like, just listen, just see,
Mhm.
take a breath and just let my fingers hold it.
Mhm.
And then really frequently, almost like magic, people are like, oh my goodness, what I'm thinking about is, and then some whole thing unfolds. And for some people who are particularly mentally focused, it takes a while, you know? And I had a principal of a middle school who is totally left brain and, very much in a box, come to me recently because she was in burnout. And it's like, okay, I can understand why you're in burnout, and let's work with what's in your body. And for the first 3 or 4 months, she was like, I have no idea where you're going with this.
Mm-hmm.
Makes no sense to me, can't hear a thing. And now, a year and a half later, her entire life is completely and utterly different. And she's listening to her body on a daily basis and using the information that her body gives her simply because she had somebody stop her long enough to listen. And she's like, oh my goodness, could you teach that to my sister? It's like, if your sister would get on my table, I could. She said, I'm not sure she will. I was like, of course not, because she's been watching. Your whole life just changed.
Right.
Why would she do that?
Not if she wants to keep things the same.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that willingness to change
Mm-hmm.
that the body really facilitates.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, thanks for adding to that, because that maybe that's the final question, is just for those people like myself who was in the beginning not clear about what you were asking or the body intelligence. Is there anything else you would want to say about why it's so important to pause and why it's so important to access the body in terms of breaking through boxes?
It has to do with actually the relationship one is willing to have with oneself.
Yeah.
And if you really want that, if you want an experience of what we've begun to call wholeness or authenticity or real life with yourself, it is really that relationship with yourself that changes everything else. And it's coming into that relationship in a new way that the pause and body work and all kinds of alternative ways of looking and being with oneself happen. And this is just one avenue. Um, there are many, many avenues to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful message, because I think that ultimately, until we're in enough pain, or there's a life experience that devastates us, or something spontaneously just encourages us to turn
Mhm.
towards ourselves, we live in a world that asks us to look for who we are outside of ourselves, which
Yes.
causes so much suffering and so much addiction and so much pain.
Yeah.
And so I love your message. It's so beautiful to pearl together, pausing, honoring oneself enough to actually get support. Have someone
Yes.
hold you, even when you don't know what the F is going on. It's like, be willing to say, I don't know, but I know there's got to be another way. And even if there isn't, this is not enough for me now. And
Right.
to reach for guidance from another being who has walked the journey. And that's what I love about your medicine, is everything you teach is everything you have been doing for so long.
Right. And I think that's the beauty of how organically it has arisen for me.
Yeah.
This isn't just something I got a business model for and decided I would do.
No.
It has grown, yeah, over years and years and years of attempting to have that relationship with myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
And
feels
oftentimes,
go.
it's true. It takes life walloping you
Yes.
and you losing your faith in life to turn to somebody else for, would you show me the way? Because
Exactly.
I can't do this.
That was me. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so people, I'm going to have in the show notes where people can find you, the Boulder Guided
Right?
Retreats.com. And maybe just before we wrap up, these retreats, people can do any length of time, or how does that?
Pretty much it's my ideal is 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
which gives us enough time to cover a lot of territory and I can still breathe at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have done 6 hours. I've done 8 hours. I've done 1 day, 2 days. I've done 5 days. It really depends on the magnitude of how big you want the change to be, how big of a pause you can actually let yourself take. Um, it depends on so many things. And really actually attempt to tailor it to, well, what do you think you need? And then what do I think I want to offer?
Uh-huh. So you do a combination, like you do
I
both.
try to,
Hmm.
yeah,
That's great.
so that once I hear what they're actually working with, it's easier for me to say, well, I don't think we'll get there in 10 hours,
Hmm.
or I don't think we'll get there in an overnight,
Hmm.
or, oh, yeah, that's actually, you have enough awareness and you have been on the journey long enough. Let's just do, 10 hours or whatever, 8 hours.
Yeah.
Let's just do a
Absolutely.
day.
Yeah. So you start that attunement from the very beginning when you meet with someone, you find out what it is they want and what they think they want, and then what you sense they need, and you kind of put it all together into an invitation.
Right, exactly. And oftentimes that process has started long before I've actually got them on the telephone because somebody I know has sent them, or some of them have been my former students who I haven't seen in 10 years, or, former clients who already have a taste for who I am and how I work.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that this podcast gives that a little glimpse of that.
Yes.
So it's already begun in a
Yes.
sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Wonderful.